What's up, y'all? I'm back with another 10-day eBay challenge, and once again, I picked up this haul from the local Goodwill outlet where everything is $1.99 per pound. I like picking up my stuff there because I can get a whole lot of small things for super cheap, and I really believe in keeping the algorithm on your side by listing at least 10 new items every day in your eBay store. And most other people who have been selling on eBay for a long time will tell you the same thing, that it really does make a difference to keep your sales up by listing new items every day. So on this particular pick, I was there for about an hour and a half and I spent $55. So now my goal is to make at least $55 in revenue within 10 days from the items that I picked up on this pick. All right, to start us off, this is one of the last things that I picked up. I saw it just sticking out of one of the bins. It had a tennis racket inside of it, and I knew that Babolat is a good brand, and you can tell that the tennis racket was really well made. And like most tennis rackets, it didn't weigh much at all either, so it didn't cost me much when it's only $1.99 per pound. So I took a chance and went ahead and picked up that bag and the racket, hoping that the racket might be worth something, and knowing that the bag's got a little value, but it might take a while to sell. On this particular day, I kept running into a whole lot of these Shark vacuum attachments. And I mentioned in one of my last videos how I sold a Shark attachment for about 70 bucks not too long ago. So I'm keeping my eye open for more vacuum attachments. And these were all Shark. And once I got it home and looked inside of the bag, it had one of those attachments that look a lot like the last one that I sold. I think it's called a Floor Hero or something, so I'm probably going to list that one by itself. And then we've got a bunch of other Shark attachments that I can lot up along with the bag. I think I've sold a lot like this before for about 40 bucks, so that's probably going to be the price range that I post this one for. In one of my recent eBay videos, I picked up some vintage Duncan yo-yo string, and when I was doing some research on that, I found out that Duncan was a really good brand in yo-yos. So when I saw these yo-yos new and in the package, and they were the Duncan brand, I knew to pick them up, and I'm hoping that I can flip those for maybe 10 or 20 bucks each. I don't remember how much they're worth. I'll have to look them up and find out. This is a Jacksonville Jaguars bucket hat. I think it's new era, so it's got a good brand, and the bucket hats do pretty good. Here's a couple of hats that I picked up on this pick. I always like picking up the hats at the Goodwill outlet because they are pretty cheap. This one has a good brand. I don't remember what it is. I'll put some comps up on the screen. And then the black Bridgestone hat, probably worth about $10 to $15. All right, here's one of those items that I picked up that looks like it's something that might be worth some money, easy to resell. Looks pretty cool. Looks like it's new in the box, but after doing some research on it, they don't sell very well. I guess there's a lot of them out there, or people just don't value them. All right, next up was this deck of vintage playing cards, Salem Most Preferred. I think it's a cigarette brand, and I've got some old playing cards myself that I collect, so I thought this would be cool. It was very cheap because it didn't weigh much, and I have to check the comps on it to see if it's worth listing online. This is an old chin strap for a football helmet, and it's Shut, which is a good brand for those. I'm assuming there's somebody out there who has a youth football league that wants to pick up these chin straps for cheap. Here's another Shark vacuum attachment. Usually I'll just use Google Lens to look up the attachments now, and it'll tell you all the information that you need on it, the model number. Then you can look it up on the sold listings on eBay and find out how much it's worth. All right, a couple of videos ago, I had a set of 2 red balls and some metal jacks. Well, I think this is that exact same set, new in the box, and it's vintage, so I'm hoping it'll be worth 20 or 30 bucks. Here's a couple of DVDs from Basic Combat Training. It looked like something interesting. I looked it up and it looks like they sell pretty well, 20 to 25 bucks, so I think that was a good pickup. Here's a Rock and Roll CD. I've heard of Warrant before. I think they did some kind of cherry pie song. It sounded familiar, and the artwork on the case looks pretty cool, so I decided to give it a try and picked it up. Here's some software. You can see I had a price tag originally of 20 bucks, so usually that means you can get 10, 15 for it. This one's called Jewel Quest 3. Here's another PC game. It's a mystery pack, so it's got 4 different games in it. Hoping that one's worth 10 to 20 bucks. This DVD is an instructional video for some Canon Rebel camera. There's a big community of camera collectors and buyers out there, so I'm sure there's somebody out there who will need that instructional video. This is a learning game for a Leapfrog device. It might even just be a DVD. I'll look it up and see what the comps look like on it, see how we can do with it. Didn't find much clothes on this trip, but I did find this nice, I guess it's a jacket. It's really thick. It's John Deere, but it's a whole different brand on the inside tag, Fossa. Usually John Deere stuff does well, so I'm hoping I can get maybe 40 or 50 for that. All right, here's another hoodie that I grabbed. It looked like it was maybe from the 90s, but once I got it home, you can see I looked a little bit closer and there are a lot of stains on it, so I don't think I'm going to be able to sell this one. This might be one that gets donated back to Goodwill. I'll throw it in my washer, see what happens. Also, looking at the tag, it's a kid's size, which I don't like to try to resell kids sizes, so this one was not a great pickup. All right, here's a Vera Bradley backpack, and I've sold a couple Vera Bradley backpacks in the past. They do pretty well. This one's got a little bit of discoloration on it. I think it's still worth 20 or 30 bucks at least. All right, here's a screen mask that I found. This one's got little holes in it and a pump where you can put fake blood into it and pump the fake blood so that it drips out onto the mask. And of course, Halloween's coming up, and this did not weigh much at all. It's made of plastic, so I thought that was an easy pickup. Try to get it listed fast and see if somebody buys it for Halloween. There's a lot of screen masks out there that are worth a ton of money. If you're out there going to flea markets or yard sales and you come across some screen masks, do some research on what brands and what labels to look for, because there's some that are worth hundreds, maybe even thousands. All right, here's a few more small things that I picked up. This is a vintage swing line stapler in the box. Looks like it's new, never been used before. And this is just an AC adapter, but it's got all the information you need right on it. It's got the original box, even though the box is pretty beat up. I still think that's something I could sell pretty easily. Here's some more software. This one's called Bejeweled 2, and it's also got Peggle on it. I'm a big fan of the game of Peggle, so I thought this one might have a little value to it. I don't think I've looked it up yet. And then we've got some sealed VHSs. I like grabbing the sealed VHSs. I think they're going to continue to go up in value over time. We got an original Pretty Women. We got Rigoletto, which I've not heard of before, but the comps didn't look too bad on it. And then we've got the old Field of Dreams VHS, sealed and never opened before. This was my favorite pickup of the day. It was the Reefer Madness DVD, sealed, never opened before, kind of like a remake or whatever from the 1930s movie, talking about how marijuana is such a horrible drug. All right, here's some more DVDs. I always pick up this kind of stuff when I see it at the Goodwill bins. It's very lightweight, very easy to pick up, and a lot of times they do pretty well. These have some good comps on them. I'm going to be looking for a way to lot them up, put the ones that are similar together, and see if I can get $10 or $20 per lot. All right, here's an empty iPhone box. I don't know about these. I picked up a couple of them recently. It looks like they sell every once in a while, not for a lot, but they're also very lightweight. So I feel like that's something that's going to be easy to list, doesn't cost a lot for me to grab, and eventually it'll sell for 15 to 20 bucks. Here's another vacuum attachment. This is a shark attachment. I'm trying to stick to the shark stuff because that's the stuff that seems to sell the best. Found a couple Funko Pops while I was there. I don't remember exactly who the lady is, but both of them have some stuff on their face. It is from that Simon Pegg zombie movie that's really funny, and they're both of them are not in the box. So I don't know how well Funko Pops do not in the box. I haven't found them before, but I figured I'd pick these up, bring them home, look them up, and see if they're worth anything. All right, I've been trying to grab more smalls, these little small toys. A lot of times if you can find the Lego characters, they do really well. Some of the Imaginext characters do all right. I think that Catwoman there is an Imaginext, so is Hulk. And I've had a few of these small ones that I've already sold for 15 or 20 bucks, so it makes sense to me to pick up a handful every time if I find stuff that looks like it might be worth money. Get it home, look it up, and if it's worth at least $10, put it up on eBay and try to get it sold. Another thing I've been keeping my eye out on and buying more of are glasses frames. They seem to sell all right if you get the right kind. I've sold a couple recently. These didn't have a brand on them, but they do have some numbers that I can use to look up. All right, I wasn't exactly sure what this was when I saw it at the bins, but of course it's super lightweight. I figured it's worth it to just throw it into my cart, look it up when I get home. The first time I used the Google Lens on it, I had to go wash my hands because it said it was for electrifying hemorrhoids or something like that. Some type of electrotherapy for hemorrhoids, and I was like, whoa, yuck. But that might be worth some money. However, when it was time to get it listed on the eBay, I looked it up again, and that's not what it is. It's some type of foldable reading lamp, so it's not worth as much, but it's also not as gross. As always, I'm picking up remotes when I find them. I pull the batteries out and throw them in my cart. This is REI. Not sure what it is, but I'll put some comps up here for you. Here's a portable cassette player. Another thing that's always a pickup when I find them because they're really cheap, they're lightweight, and they sell pretty well. Now this one's kind of cool. This is just a little clock. It's a decent brand, but it says on the bottom that it's Kraft Macaroni and Cheese 60th anniversary. The brand's Howard Miller. Doesn't work, and then once I got it home and looked a little bit closer, it looks like one of the hands on the clock have fallen off. However, it's kind of a cool collector's item. There's people out there that like the macaroni and cheese brand items, collectibles, so I think somebody out there is willing to pay 20 or 30 bucks for it. Here's one of my best hats of the day. We'll see the brand here in a second, but I did put Michael Jackson in the title. Kind of looks like a Michael Jackson hat with that white ribbon around it. The Designer Collection is the brand name, which is not a good brand name. You can see it was originally $45 though. Definitely have to run my lint brush over it. That's going to make it look a lot better, and hopefully I can get $30 or $40 for it. All right, this one was disappointing. It looked pretty cool. I didn't know exactly what it was when I found it. It was in the original box. as you'll see in a second. There's nothing in the box except for just the device. No charger, no nothing. So I went ahead and grabbed it and brought it home. Once I looked it up, it looked like something that does have some value. However, when I tried to post it up on eBay, they told me that it's some type of medical device that you have to have a prescription for. And when that happens, you're not allowed to list those items. I've got several items now that are considered medical devices that I purchased for resale and aren't able to sell them, like a CPAP machine that's worth $200 or $300, but I can't sell it on eBay. So I can't do anything with that. Got some more hats here. I really like this Dodgers hat, all white LA Dodgers hat, and it's got the 2023 World Series logo on the side, but it's got a little bit of a stain there on the bill. Yellow stain, a little bit of black stain, so can't get full price for it. Maybe I'll get 20 for it if I'm lucky. Here's a Wells Fargo hat. Got this one home and looked it up, and there's a bunch of these out there, and they do not sell for much. Not sure if I'll even list that one. Here's a light blue USGA hat, and you turn around on the back, and it says US Junior Amateur 2014, so I think that was from the US Junior Amateur Tour or tournament, which is pretty specific, so might be hard to sell. This is a coffee grinder mechanism. It's not actually a coffee grinder itself, it's just the mechanism that you can build a coffee grinder out of. You have to, I guess, have your own wood or whatever you use to build your grinder. Looking that up, looks like they sell, but not for a lot. Here's a couple more DVDs I can use to lot up with the other shooting DVDs. Shooting DVDs and hunting DVDs, that kind of stuff sells well. This was super lightweight. It's some software, Family Tree software. Once I got it home and looked it up, does not look like it sells very well reselling wise on eBay. So that's one that I'll either lot up with some other stuff or I'll probably just throw it in my death pile, to be honest. All right, this is a TDS and EC thingamabob. I don't know what this is. I've already got this listed on eBay, so I've already researched it, but I don't remember exactly what it is. I think it measures like lead levels in water or something. I'm gonna put comps up here and I'm sure that'll explain what it is, but I personally don't remember exactly what that was. It was lightweight. It was something that looked like it could be worth 10, 20, maybe even more, so I grabbed it. Here's another item that I'm not 1,000% sure what it is. It's a Verve home phone base. It's coming in the original box. The box is taped up, so I didn't get to look inside to make sure all the parts were there, but it also doesn't weigh very much, so I felt like it was worth it to take a chance. This one's another sealed VHS, Ottoman, New York, and when I was researching the sealed VHSs, it looks like the ones that have the holograms on them from like MGM or wherever the studio is are worth more than the ones that don't. So I'm learning more about how people are valuing and grading sealed VHS tapes. All right, here's a Sony Dream Machine alarm clock. I always do well on these alarm clocks. A lot of people skip them. They're not worth a ton, but if it works well and you take a video of it and put that video into your listing, it seems to really sell fast for me. Here's a recorder. It looks like a flute. I think it's called a recorder. I forget the name brand on it. I know it says Angel. I think that's the model number. I'll put comps up here. They don't sell for much, but hopefully I can get 10 or 15 for it. All right, here's another vacuum attachment. This one wasn't a shark attachment, but it was Kenmore, and I've heard of Kenmore before, and it looked pretty nice, so I went ahead and grabbed that one. It was lightweight. It was cheap. And then we've also got some type of bands for Hoover vacuums. They're new in the package. And then once again, searching around, I found another bag full of vacuum attachments. They don't weigh a ton. I mean, they weigh a little bit, but I've had a lot of success reselling vacuum attachments in the past, so I went ahead and grabbed this bag. I'll have to look up each individual piece and see if I want to lot those up together. I don't even know if they're the same brand, even though they came in that bag together, but they also had this smaller shark bag in it. The shark bag has this whole setup that I guess you put together to make some type of vacuum mechanism. I don't know exactly what it is, but luckily I have Google. I can research it. I can see what it sells like. I'll put comps up here, and I think this is all one set that goes together. All right, so that's my pick. $55 spent, so I've got 10 days if I want to complete this challenge to make at least $55 in revenue, hopefully more, and turn this pick into a profit.
Murder, suicide, and the ultimate end of the marijuana addict. Hopeless insanity. See this important film now, before it is too late.
What's up, everybody? It's been 10 days and I'm back to see if I've made a profit from this pick. I spent $55 at the Goodwill outlet, if you remember, and the first thing I picked up was that bag with the tennis racket in it. And as soon as I listed that tennis racket, it sold within 12 hours. It sold for full price for $50. And as always, I had free shipping on there, so it cost me $11.16 to ship it, $7.33 on the transaction fees. Ad fees was $2.12. So the first sale had already netted me a revenue of $29.37. And those shark attachments, those were flying off the shelves too. As soon as I listed those, I had a couple sales. The first one was that bag where I put a bunch of the attachments together. Like I said, I had one similar lot recently and it sold for $40. So I went ahead and listed this one for $40 with the bag and it sold for full price. Shipping on that only cost me $8. The transaction fees were $5.24 and then the ad fee was $1.70. So my earnings on that lot was $25.04. And also in that bag was this Shark Hard Floor Hero attachment, and I took that one out, sold it separately because I've sold a similar one before. It sold for $49. I think I might have listed it for $60 and took a best offer. Maybe I put it up for $55, but it ended up selling for $49 and it cost me less than $8 to ship. Transaction fees were $6.46 on that one, and the ad fee was a little bit more than $2. So my earnings on just that one attachment was $32.75. So after a day, I was already well into the profit in this pick, and a few other things have sold since then as well. That chin strap I picked up, it wasn't in great condition, but it was a good brand, so it sold for $12.50, and it was only about $5 to ship. $1.83 on the transaction fees, and the ad fees were 50 cents, so it was a little bit over $5 on the earnings. For that cheap little chin strap that I picked up, it was lightweight, just threw it into the basket, and it sold within 10 days. So within the 10 days was the Warrant CD. It sold pretty fast. It was called Dirty, Rotten, Filthy, Stinking Rich, and it sold for about $10. It was $5 to ship and $1.88 transaction fees, 43 cents on the ad fees, so it was only $2.65 on the earnings. The next sell I had was the Funko Pop Ed from Shaun of the Dead. Surprisingly, the comps looked pretty good on that one. I ended up selling it for about $14, $13.99. And it wasn't from the listing that you gave eBay 4% for, so there's no ad fee on this one, just a transaction fee of $2.07. So the earnings on Ed were $7.23. Next up was the Verve home phone base. Still don't even know what this is. I bought it, I sold it. I don't even still know exactly what it is, but I knew what to list it at because there were other ones that were similar that I've already sold, and I got $18 for it. Shipping on this one was $6.53. Also no ad fee. Transaction fees were about $2, so the earnings on the Verve $9.42. Here's another vacuum attachment that sold within the 10 days. This is that Kenmore one. It was pretty small, but it sold for $13, $5.50 to ship it. Transaction fees were about $2, and the ad fee was about 50 cents, so the earnings about $5. The next thing that sold was that Scream mask. It's about to be Halloween, so somebody bought that one. It was only $16, and it only cost me $6.30 to ship it. Transaction fees $2.34, so the earnings on the Scream mask $7.35. And the last thing that is sold from this pick is the RCA cassette player, the portable cassette player. I put tested on there because I did put some batteries in it and I hit the buttons and it did move around, but it doesn't have speakers. It only uses headphones, so I wasn't able to test the sound, and I noted that in the description, so hopefully the buyer understood that. I think they've already left positive feedback, so it should be good. Subtotal on that one was $15.98. It cost me $5.41 to ship it, and the transaction fee was $1.84. Also an ad fee on that one, 68 cents, so my earnings were $8.05 on the RCA cassette player. Alright, so if we add up the earnings for everything that sold within 10 days, it comes out to $132.40. Originally I spent $55 on this pick, so my profit so far is $77.40. We've already doubled our money, and we've already got dozens more items that have already been listed in the store that still haven't sold yet, so it was a pretty good pick and a good trip to the Goodwill bins. I promise the next video that I post won't be a Goodwill outlet video. I've got one coming up that's from one of those online auctions that I've already sold a couple items from. Alright y'all, if you want to hang out, a few of my viewers have been asking me to do some updates on my previous eBay 10-day challenges to see what other items from those hauls have sold so far and how I'm looking on my profit. So I'm going to go through a few of those and show you guys what I've sold. Start off of course with my first video, my first eBay 10-day picking video. It was of course from the Goodwill outlet. I had spent $34 and I did really well on that pick. I sold that that fedora and ended up getting an earnings of $66.84 from just that hat. So I'm already in the profit on that one. If I remember correctly, I spent $34 on the pick and I had an earnings of $92.56. So my profit so far is $58.56. And before I even posted the video, that Windows 10 Home Edition had already sold for me, and it sold for about 30 bucks, and it was less than $5 to ship, less than $3 transaction fees. So the earnings on the Windows 10 Home Edition was $22.61, even though it was a used version. So I'm not sure why people pay for those that much. I guess they have their own keys. So if you find one out in the wild and it's only $1 or $2, might as well pick it up. And another item from that pick that has already sold was that We Sing Bible song set. It had 4 CDs in it and some type of activity book that hadn't been written in it. And even though the corners of the cover and the back were a little bit messed up, I was still able to get $30 for that. I'm pretty sure I listed it for $40 and maybe accepted an offer for $29.99. It was $6.53 to ship. Transaction fees on that was $4.76. So my total earnings on the We Sing set was $18.70. And so far, that's all that sold from that pick. It was a pretty small haul. I only spent $34, but my total revenue from it so far, $133.87. So basically about 100 bucks. And I've still got a few items left from that pick that haven't sold yet. Alright, next up is an update from my second video. This is where I went to the yard sales and I got the fake Pokemon stuff. I actually sold one of those Pokemon items, the Pet Elf Gold balls and figurines. It ended up selling for about $15, which I think is a good deal because this was kind of a cool item. It's got something like 12 different balls in it. Each ball has a figurine inside. Even though it's not quite Pokemon, it's close to Pokemon, but it cost me $7 to ship that. There were transaction fees, $2.21, and an ad fee of 65 cents, so I was able to pull out a profit of a little bit over $5 on that. And I've still got another one of those Pet Elf Goes that I'm waiting to hopefully get sold soon. Also from that pick was this big palette of makeup that was unbranded. Like I said in the video, it looked like it came from Timo or something. Somebody ended up buying it for $15 and I shipped it out to them, but once they got it, they noticed that it was all broken up and they didn't want it, so I had to give them a complete refund for it. I could have them ship it back to me, but then what would I do? Just throw it away? So I went ahead and just gave them a full refund and didn't make them ship it back to me, and it ended up being a loss of $10 because I paid $10 to ship it. Another item from that pick that is sold already was the sling bag from some brand I've never heard of before, Jinping. It was leather, it was nice and small, but it didn't sell for much. $12.73 with free shipping, and it cost me $6.24 to ship, $2.01 for the transaction fees, so I was still able to get a little bit of earnings on it, $4.48. And the last thing that is sold from this haul so far is one of those PlayStation 4 video games. The Division sold for $7.48. I shipped it out for $4.41, and the transaction fee on that was $1.23, so a very small earnings on it, $1.84. So at the end of that video, I had made $9.75 in profit after spending $60 on the pick. Because of that refund, I'm still only at $71.18, $11.18 of profit, but I still have a couple of pairs of clippers from that pick that'll hopefully sell soon, and I'll be able to get further into the profit from my yard sale pick. Moving on to the third pick, my third video. This one was from the online auction website Hybid, and I only spent $16.62, and I was already in the profit at the end of that video after 10 days. I had made $30.01 in earnings, so my profit was $13.39, and since then a few more items from that pick have sold. Another item from that box that has sold was that small metal coffee pot, or percolator is what they also called it, and it sold for 20 bucks. It only cost me $5.51 to ship. Transaction fees on that were $2.87. The ad fee was 87 cents, so my earnings was over $10 on that, $10.73. Also from that same pick, this one was its own listing, an auction that I won. I think maybe $5 I paid for it, but it was a scale model HO for a train set, and it sold for about $27. I shipped it out for $5.71. Transaction fees $3.75, ad fee $1.17, so my earnings on that $16.36. Another item from that box that has already sold was the white milk glass baseball. I guess it was like a trinket box is what other people were calling it, so that's what I listed it as. It sold for $13 and it was $7.36 to ship out. It was about $2 in transaction fees and about 50 cents in ad fees, so my earnings on that was only $3, $3.06. And then one of my favorite items out of that box was was the vintage Duncan yo-yo string. I was kind of hoping it would sell for more. I was hoping it would sell at auction between a few collectors, but it ended up selling for $22.48. It shipped out for less than $5, and the transaction fees were about $3, so I made an earnings on that one of $14.71. And the most recent thing to sell out of that box and from that pick, surprisingly, was that vintage jack set. I almost didn't even list it because I was surprised it was worth anything. They looked like they were in pretty bad shape, but they ended up selling for $16.99. Shipping on that was $4.35. Transaction fees $2.46, and the ad fee on that 72 cents. So my earnings from that little jack set $9.46. So if my math is correct, so far my earnings from that pick $84.33. And if you remember, I spent $16.62 altogether on that one, so my profit is $67.71. So doing pretty good on that pick, and we still got more stuff from that box that hasn't sold yet. All right, in the last update, this will be a quick one. It was from, I think, my most recent video. Fourth video is from a Goodwill outlet pick where I spent $81, and I still wasn't in the profit even after 10 days. And when I made the video, there were a few other things that had sold after that. Still wasn't in the profit yet, but getting close. At that point, my earnings from that pick were $79.22. I had originally spent $81, so hopefully we're in the profit by now. Another item from that pick that has sold since then is one of those AC adapters. It didn't sell for much though. I accepted an offer for $8 on it. I shipped it for $5.41. Transaction fees $1.28. So earnings really small on that one, $1.31. So I still don't think we're in the profit yet, but we're getting close. And luckily we got there thanks to the one and only OG subscriber of mine, Mr. Joe Rubalcaba. If you watched the video originally, I was going through all the items that I had picked, and one of the t-shirts that I saw in there, it said watch Cronenberg, and I mentioned in the video that I tried to research it and I didn't find anything about it, so I ended up just throwing it in the closet and kind of forgetting about it. But then after posting the video, my man Joe Rubalcaba posted a comment underneath the video that said Cronenberg is one of the greatest horror film directors ever, which I didn't realize that, and horror stuff does really well. So I went back and researched that t-shirt again and was like, hey, this one actually probably has some value. So I started an auction on it, and I started it off at $19.98 with free shipping, and it got multiple bids and ended up selling for $27. So shout out to Joe on that one. I shipped it out for less than $5. Transaction fees $3.64. So my earnings on the Cronenberg t-shirt $18.39. That makes my total earnings so far on that large pick $98.92, and I originally spent $81 on it, so my profit $17.92, and that was a big pick too. So there's a lot of small items still left in my store from that pick that will sell eventually over time, and that profit will go up. So not a big profit on that one, and it's all due to Joe Robocata. All right, everybody, I haven't started editing yet, but I'm assuming this is probably going to be a long video, so if you're still watching to this point, thank you, I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.